Disturbing and graphic images emerging from Bucha in Ukraine showing mass graves and bodies in the street. As Ukrainian officials work to account for the dead, many worry things may be even worse in other towns. So, how does this grim new chapter change the battle for Ukraine? Joining us now to discuss, former defense advisor to Ukraine and retired Colonel Liam Collins. Also, retired Major John Spencer. He is the chair of the Urban Warfare Studies at Madison Policy Forum and the author of Connected Soldiers. Gentlemen, I'm honored to have both of you on. Thank you so much. Major, I'm going to start with you. You say the horror coming out of Bucha is something beyond war crimes we have discussed up to now. Why is this different?
So, bombing of civilian targets, war crimes, right? But the enemy can always say, or in this case, the aggressor can always say that whatever they were shooting at had military target or military people in it, right? So we've discussed this in the past. They can argue away what they did, even though some of this clear war crimes that will be investigated. But there's a whole different level. I don't even think war crimes is the right word. It's genocide. It's crimes against humanity to tie somebody's hands and shoot them in the back of the head. And as an old soldier, that's an intimate type of evil that isn't a war crime. That's a crime against humanity.
Colonel, for weeks now, we have heard Russian troops are poorly led and organized and that they have low morale. Does that play any kind of a role here? Is there anything is there any way to explain this?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, war crimes are as old as war itself, unfortunately. And when you have poorly led and poorly trained soldiers, they're going to be far too common. And look, I mean, they sat on the border for weeks or months before being sent across. Putin didn't tell them why they're waging this war. They go across the border, they're getting slaughtered, they're seeing their friends get killed. And so they're lashing out on the only people they can find. And unfortunately, that's the civilians that happen to be on the battlefield that they won't even allow to leave.
Major, Russia is changing focus now. They seem to be intent on surrounding and hammering eastern cities like Mariupol. How long can Ukrainian defenders in the end hold out? And what happens if this becomes block-to-block fighting?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's lots of variables on how much longer they can hold out in places like Mariupol, where they've been sieged for a long time. But there could go weeks, to be honest, depending on what the situation they have at the ground. And, you know, as I've talked before, underground in Mariupol has an underground, but it's really what Russia's willing to pay to take the city, to be frank, and to take these objectives. Russia is falling apart everywhere. And this isn't just, okay, let's focus on the east and let's move a bunch of forces over there to finish the job and create some type of a win. I think we're going to see more war crimes. We're going to see Russia pay a bigger price, so their dying is not over yet. And to be frank, what happened in Bucha, I mean, that's a rally to these people to keep fighting. It emboldens them. Remember Bucha. Remember these crimes.
So let's drill into that a little bit more. You think the reports of these war crimes change not only how the Ukrainians are fighting, but what the U.S. and our allies are willing to contribute to this fight?
I sure hope so. Look, I understand that Russia's done this in the past. I understand this is what Putin does. I understand it's happened around the world. I don't care. This is our moment. We are the leaders of the free world. I think this should change everything. Those images, that's not disinformation. That's real. You've been over there. You know these war crimes. Look, there's 4 forms of national power, and military is one of them. Yes, send them more Soviet tanks. Send them everything. But there's diplomatic power, there's information power, and there's economic power. Bring down the weight that we, the free world, can bring down, yes, without escalating to nuclear war.
Colonel, a CNN team near Mykolaiv narrowly escaping artillery fire. We're also seeing video of strikes targeting the port city of Odessa. What can Ukrainians do to fight back if Putin's main goal now is destruction, of more and even claiming even more territory, more so than claiming more territory?
Yeah, I mean, as we see, right, he's failed in his attempts to really take the cities. And so he's just sitting back and laying artillery siege on it because that's about the only option he has. So what we've seen the Ukrainians do around Kyiv was, right, those smart counterattacks attacking at a time and place to their tactical advantage, and they have superior troops, superior training, superior leaders, superior culture. So they're going to defeat Russian forces, but they are facing overwhelming combat power. So it's a slow, steady kind of counterattacks that they can slowly chip away at what Russia was able to seize to date. So I think it's probably going to be more like Kyiv, where it's going to take time for these counterattacks to be effective and push the Russian forces back.
Many of the places Ukrainians will be trying to liberate, Major, in the coming days and weeks, maybe a little more than rubble by the time that they're able to wrestle them back. What's the strategic significance of taking back even a decimated city?
Yeah, so I've written some papers about this on, is it possible to destroy a city? And the answer is no, because the cities are the people. So all these refugees, and even the people that are hiding in the rubble, that is the city. It's not the buildings, it's the Ukrainian people that make up those cities. So those cities will live again.
Colonel, U.S. intel is suggesting that Putin is facing pressure to have results by May 9th, when Russia celebrates its victory in World War II. How much more dangerous could that make his next moves, or will he just claim victory regardless of what's real on the battlefield?
I'm sure he'll claim victory any way he can, right? As implausible as it is, he'll try to claim something. But I don't think there's nothing more Putin can do to really escalate other than launching more artillery into cities and killing more civilians. And obviously that's going to continue to likely pay a higher price for that diplomatically and economically. He just doesn't have more forces to throw in the fight. They've been decimated. The ones from Kyiv have been pulled back, and it doesn't look like they're going to regroup anytime soon. So there's really not much more he can do to escalate this other than continue to just shell and destroy cities.
Colonel, Major, thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
President Zelensky in the war-torn city of Bucha, warning civilian casualties will rise, but how will the indiscriminate killing impact negotiations with Russia? A former Zelensky aide joins me. That's next.